I'm Andrew Samalin from Samelin Wealth. Wanted to touch base with all of you regarding the upcoming SpaceX IPO. Given the media attention, thought we'd talk about it for a few minutes. So, SpaceX is going to prove to be one of the most highly recognized, largest, and most followed IPOs to come out in years, perhaps ever. And our clients have been reaching out to us for guidance, so this video is going to hopefully answer a few of those questions. Of course, for clients of the firm, we're available to talk about this individually. So, what does SpaceX do exactly? So SpaceX has a couple of divisions. The first is a launch services, and they lob items into space through some super cool and retrievable launch rockets. They own Starlink, which is a massive telecommunications satellite network. They help our national security and defense through multiple of their programs and AI programs. They have a Starship program, which can unlock entirely new industries that don't exist today. And there is SpaceX AI, which oversees Grok, AI infrastructure, and related products. So why is the market valuing so high at a $1.8 trillion to $2 trillion launch value? Well, Starlink can become one of the largest telecom networks in the world. SpaceX has a monopoly in launch, and by virtue of the economics, because they're so big, they're able to bring their costs down, which further entrenches that monopoly. Starlink can create entirely new markets. It is a founder-led company by Elon Musk, everyone knows, and he is truly the Edison of the day. And at the end of the day, you are making a very big bet, should you choose to invest in this, in Elon Musk. And there is also some national security importance here, which wouldn't be underestimated because the value of these contracts are massive and they are not short-term. So how is SpaceX going to perform? Well, there's three reasons why SpaceX IPO could perform well. The first reason is that Starlink has become a massive reoccurring revenue business. Second, as I mentioned, they have a near monopoly in launch services. So when folks want to put things out into space, they give SpaceX a call. They have the systems in place and they have the government contracts in order to do so. It's also an option in multiple billion-dollar growth businesses, which include XAI, Grok, and who knows how this Tesla integration is going to happen in the future, if at all. But if it does, that's another multiple, trillion-dollar business that if they combine, they can bring out tremendous amounts of costs. There are three financial metrics that concern me as it relates to SpaceX. Number one is that the net losses are huge. They lose billions and billions and billions of dollars every year. Now, not to say that every brand new growth business of scale isn't going to lose tremendous amounts of money in the hopes that they create more value in the future and profits in the future, but that's where we stand right now. The second reason is that valuation multiples are extreme, the likes of which I personally haven't seen in this scale. One example might be that the stock market is currently trading at a 2, maybe 3 times price to sales multiple, and the price to sales multiple of SpaceX is 90, not 9, but 90 times sales. It is extremely difficult to play catch up on multiples that high at this high evaluation. And there's also the third reason, which is the revenue concentration in Starlink, which means that Starlink might be doing beautifully and making a lot of money. The fact is that none of the other divisions are making money, and Starlink itself is trying to, make up for all those shortfalls. But the single most important metric here is the Starlink subscriber growth average revenue per user, in short, ARPU, and their operating margins that come along with it. The market is very likely valuing SpaceX primarily as a global communications platform rather than a launch company. If Starlink continues to grow at 30 to 50% annually while maintaining their margins, the valuation over time could become supportable. But if that growth slows materially, the stock could face significant multiple compression, even if revenues continue to rise. So in short, the bull case is predicated on the fact that SpaceX becomes a combination of a telecom company, an infrastructure platform, and an aerospace leader. The bear case is simply that investors are paying too much for profits that may not arrive for years. So what are the key risks? Well, valuation risk is primarily what is staring me in the face right now with a $2 trillion valuation, where private market valuations have risen too much and too soon. Second component is a key person risk, where SpaceX remains closely associated with Elon Musk. He owns 85% of the voting stock. So you and every other institution and every other shareholder simply have no say in the matter. The opposite of that, however, or the counterbalance, is that his economics are aligned with yours. Given that he owns so much, he's going to want to take care of the stock price. There is also the Starship execution risk, where a significant portion of the long-term upside depends on what Starship does and how it becomes operational at scale. Also, there's regulatory risk, where Starlink requires spectrum rights and international approvals, which can become even more challenging as the network expands. And keep in mind, by the way, competition, they're not going to sit here and do nothing. Verizon, AT&T, and all the other global telecom providers are not going to, just sit and let SpaceX eat their lunch. Keep in mind, by the way, from a valuation standpoint, traditional telecom and satellite providers trade at roughly 1.3 times sales. And as I mentioned, SpaceX trades at 90 times sales. And this reminds me basically of Amazon back in the day on, the internet bubble version 1, which is where Amazon did beautifully, and they were hoping to not make any money for a long term so they could stay within this cloud of the unknown, within this bubble of hope and looking forward. We kind of saw that stock go from 1,000 to 30 back from 2000 to 2010. And of course, it did beautifully from 2015 up to today. But, you really have to be patient here. So to me, the question goes back to, is it worth 1.8 trillion at the IPO, and should you invest when they come public? And I'm not going to equivocate here, because to my eye, at this company's valuation and at this stage, the answer is no. If you have IPO stock, enjoy it. See how it trades. And with many of these IPOs, there are meaningful pullbacks, just like Uber, which went down 50%. Meta went down 50%. Doesn't mean they're not going to do great in the future. But if you ask me, that is it worth $135 a share as an offering price, and that was, by the way, set without any public price discovery, at a $1.8 trillion valuation, I'm not so sure I'm willing to pay 90 times earnings for businesses that are unproven, that have competition, and we simply don't know if it's worth it at this point. The math itself says no. The opportunity, though, says yes. So I'm waiting for the media fury to die down. And by the way, all of your large index funds will have to own SpaceX soon, so don't worry about being left behind. So what's the summary? SpaceX is an incredible milestone in the evolution of technology, communications, space travel, stock market index construction, and frankly, the public's ability to look out over the bow to see what's next. So regardless of how this IPO ends up performing over the short term, it's going to change the competitive landscape for many different industries and how and why we invest in them or not. So thanks for watching, everybody. Any questions, feel free to reach out, and we'll see you around.